I'm gonna mute my.
All right, everyone, good morning.
Good
So glad
morning.
good morning. So glad to see you. My name is Halona Black, and I am a writer, a meditation teacher, and also a world traveler. This is our Wednesday AM Mindful Journal Circle, and the group serves three purposes. One is to help us to be able to find meaning in life and the examination of our own life story. The second is to uncover stories that hold us back from our true potential. And then we write new stories that help us to become more of who we are meant to be. And so today's topic is a topic that's really kind of close to my heart. It's about the process of finding what is home to you, not just a physical home, but other things that we sort of include in what is home to us. And just to give you a little bit of background on why I chose this particular story, um, I've been traveling for the last 6 years. I'm in Mexico at the moment, and Mexico is, I believe, my 10th country that I've lived in. And I've loved all the countries that I've been to, loved all of them. But in the last couple of, yeah, I guess the last couple of years or so, I've just decided to have a place where just a physical place where I can put my stuff, because every time you move to a new country, you got to kind of get rid of stuff. And I've become very quite good at learning how to be able to let stuff go. But there's just certain things that I want to be able to hold on to help me to sort of evolve into the person that I would like to be. And so sometimes it's like my kitchen stuff. I love to be able to hold on to, I would like to have a real quality blender and a juicer and, just a few other items that make, a kitchen feel more comfortable for me. Also books. I miss having books, my bookshelf. I remember I used to have stacks of books that I used to be able to use to refer to things just for personal reference or things that I was doing, using working with clients and things like that. Um, but also just beyond just the physical stuff. I don't know if I've ever really felt a sense of a place being home, a place that was comfortable. I've had a couple of childhood homes, and it's not that, my childhood was, out of the ordinary, or I would even put, abusive, as I know some people unfortunately grow up in homes like that. They just didn't feel like places where I belonged. Places where I felt like, the best of me was being encouraged. And certainly after my mother passed away, I guess I had the feeling that my home, sort of, so to speak, was with her. So my home wasn't necessarily, a physical place. Like a lot of people have attachment to um, their physical home, their childhood home. But for me, that really wasn't all that important. Um, who else came in here? Oh, good morning, Tish. Good morning, Kathy. I see you. Thank you for coming. So we're talking about the topic of home and what that looks like for you. And so what was the last thing I just said? Excuse me. And so, I just never really felt like home was something that felt I didn't know what that looked like or what it felt like. And so because of that, it's always been really easy for me to sort of pack up and move and, throw stuff away, throw away what other people would sort of feel like they could hold on to. Um, things like furniture and all kinds of other things. I never really understood why people get so attached to their stuff and their belongings. But now I feel like I want to have those things. I want to have a space where I can do that. And I'm feeling like, Mexico could be a place where I could do that. And so I'm excited about being able to have that. And so what's the time is it? So what I wanted to do was sort of look at, because it's a writing group, I kind of wanted to look at the way that other people sort of look at home and what home feels like, looks and feels like, through poetry. So I have two different poems. Um, the first one I believe is by Maya Angelou, and if I'm absolutely wrong, I apologize. But I found this online. I put it in the chat so that people could see it. And for those who are watching the replay, I'll put the poem in, or a link to the poem in the description of the video. But the first one is called "The House of My Childhood," by Maya Angelou. I believe it's by Maya Angelou. I look at it, it's not it doesn't seem to be a very popular poem by her, and I try to uh what's the word that I want to use? I tried to confirm that it was by Dr. Maya Angelou using ChatGPT. And it says it is, but it's just not a very popular poem by her. And so it's called "The House of My Childhood." And I'll just read it. "The house of my childhood is gone. I look upon the site where home stood, but the structure I gazed on has now become dust. Yet those walls compile in my mind a gallery of life for my viewing. The peace of summer nights, raindrops tapping on the window, perfumed roses climbing over the roof, Mama's arresting smile, fireplaces crackling with warmth, and burnt red bricks, both cold and sun-baked." And so that's hopefully Dr. Maya Angelou's poem. Again, if it's not, I apologize. But I really like this poem because as a writer, I like things that sort of touch on our five senses, especially when we're talking about memories. And so when we write, whether you're a person who journals or you're actually writing a book, it really doesn't matter. If you're interested in sort of getting to the heart of what it is that you want to be able to say, it's great to be able to explore how certain instances or certain memories make you feel via your five senses. And this is also why I think mindfulness is so important. Meditation and mindfulness helps us to really tap into that. We can become more aware of what it is that we feel, and become more expressive when we take the time to be able to figure out what our senses are experiencing, and to be able to write that via our journals or books, or anything that you want to be able to write. And so, yeah, I particularly, I won't read it again, but what I particularly like about this poem is the first line: "The house of my childhood is gone," which I find to be, that's quite a poignant statement. It's almost like I can sort of stand back and sort of see her, like, perhaps almost like a house that burned down, and you're just sort of looking at it and feeling just sort of like you're mourning the loss of a physical home that held so many memories for you, a house that you no longer have access to. The people that you loved are no longer in there. Perhaps people have gone on, they've either through death or they've moved on to other places. And so that first line: "The house of my childhood is gone. I look upon the site where home stood, but the structure I gazed on has now become dust." Um, and I always hear people talk about, their childhood home or the house that they grew up in. I actually do have a house that I spent a good majority of my childhood in, but I don't hold that type of I don't know, I guess love for the home that for me. I don't hold that type of love for it. not for the home, the town, really not, you know, of course I love my parents, and I was actually lucky to be able to grow up with my grandparents living next door to me for a good while, a good part of my childhood, which I'm so lucky to have. But like attachment to the physical house is just something I just don't have. I just really don't. Um, she talks about mama's arresting smile, fireplaces crackling with warmth, and burnt red bricks, both cold and sun-baked. Again, all of those really beautiful memories. I guess for myself, I can sort of remember my mom. My mom worked really hard to try to make um, a home, but I think she had some sort of difficulty because the home that she grew up in was really it wasn't constructive. I'll just say that it wasn't constructive um, to her own growing up. And so she really tried hard to be able to create something that felt like home, you know, through, you know, doing things like decorating and things, all of those things. And I certainly appreciate it. I appreciate it more as I grew up and got older. But again, I never really felt a connection to a place, or I had to have a connection to a place until I'm older. And so I'm 47 years old now, and I would like to be able to have a connection to a place. And I'm trying to find what that really feels like for me. So I don't know, does anyone else in reading that, did you have any thoughts about this particular poem, or do you like it or care for it, or is there anything in particular that you find interesting?
I found that the first part, the house of my childhood is gone. Uh, that the first line resonated with me because I as a child, every house that we lived in was soon gone
Mm-hmm.
because my father was in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And so just from a little girl before kindergarten, we lived in one house. I remember leaving my grandmother's house, which was in Texas, and then us coming to a new place, and it looked so different. And then the house that we lived on was what I considered a house that you would draw a
Mm-hmm.
picture of, and it had the windows and the door in the middle, and then there was a door in the back, and I really liked the house.
Mm-hmm.
And it was months and we moved to another house. And so every house that we lived in, I tried to take everything in about the house. We
Mm-hmm.
had the same furniture that we carried around with us. So that furniture up until I was in maybe high school, even though my parents divorced, my mother got the furniture. We took with us. And so, but every house that I had was gone
Mm-hmm.
every 2 to 3 years. So that, and as an adult, I've moved around not as much. The longest place that I lived in was for 17 years with my children. So that house is gone for them, but they lived there quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and then the second house was when I lived in Baltimore, and that was well, I lived in the town um for 13 years. So um as an adult, I didn't move around as much as I did as a child.
Yeah, every 2 to 3 years, that's kind of a lot, particularly for a kid.
Yes, it is. And I longed for friends, friends. I didn't have friends. People can talk about, friends they've known since they were, crawling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that experience. And so um making friends was real important to me, and I learned how to do that. But then they were gone.
Hmm.
So
And so do you feel like you learned, like, did you learn how to make friends better as a result of that, or were you just sort of always by yourself?
yeah, um I learned how to speak to people I didn't know,
Hmm.
well, I was open to it. They not weren't always open to it. They thought that was strange that I would introduce myself to try to make a friend.
Hmm.
Um, Especially even when I went into college, it was easy for me to speak to people in new environments and try to make friends. Um, and then I got tired of not not the not having the reciprocity, the having me. So I was like, well, you know, I can't smile and be happy to meet you if you're not going to be happy to meet me. So I kind of stopped that when I got in college after a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Do they have any thoughts about what home is for them? If the poem brings up anything for them or anything else that they would want to bring up?
I too moved every 2 or 3 years. So that's interesting to hear someone else who's had that experience.
Mhm.
Um, and I've continued it throughout my adulthood. I think not having children kind of created that for me.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it's interesting because I think the thing that I learned how to do through my experience was how to make friends, or at least how to make myself become a part of the group so that people were comfortable enough with me that they wouldn't leave me alone. Right? So I was like the reader. I would show up, and if I was reading and then, people would comment or assume things about me when I wasn't, trying to get along with the group, oh, she's stuck up, or so I would come in, be friendly, and then, read my book because that's what I like to do. Um, But I think about we've always lived in apartments. And so the one house that I remember us living in, um, I was really young, but we lived in Gary, which is where my mom is from. And so, when I go to that place, one of the things that I feel like I've consistently done is, every 3 or 4 years or so, um, I'll go back to the places that I used to go, right? So the places that felt like home. So even though I moved, there were like my grandmother lived in the same house my entire life. Um, so home for me was really about the people, right? So that my grandmother's house and my father always lived on the south side of Chicago. Um, so I guess even though I've moved all the time, um, the memories of like certain experiences,
Mhm.
like they still live there. So I think about like where she talks about um the structure. It's very interesting. Even though the structures are gone, the memories are still alive.
Mhm.
And it feels like even more alive when I can talk to someone who also remembers that memory or has that shared memory. It's almost like it doesn't leave. It's
Hmm.
like it still lives as long as I can talk about it with somebody.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's like a recognition of the passage of time, or how all of us are getting older.
Yeah, which is weird too.
Hmm.
Like, and I think also the growth, like I and when I look at myself, I don't see time pass.
Mhm.
But when I look at pictures of myself, it's like, who is that? Or
Yeah.
I'll return to experiences or to people. And that's when I'll recognize that I've grown, because in my mind, I'm still the same person. I'm
Mhm.
still the same, you know,
Mhm.
I still have the same questions, uncertainty. Like I'm not 100%. Which I guess that also speaks to moving a lot. I don't ever feel like I'm 100% certain. And I actually
Mm.
woke up thinking that, like, I don't know that I have to be, right? Like I think about that now in this moment. I woke up thinking about how, I'm like, if I'm not, all these people online are so 100% sure. And then, 3, 4 years later, they were wrong. And I've never like, I don't know. I'm like, there's always a possibility for shift or change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm the same way too.
Yeah.
Like finding a home for me means I'm going to be in this place for 3 to 5 years. Like that's really as far as I can see forward. I can't really do like, at least in the United States, buy homes and we get mortgages for 15 to 30 years. That I don't even know how people even do that. I'm like 15 to 30. What are we doing in 15 to 30 years that I need to still be paying for this house? I just don't, there's just so many variables that in my head that could pop up that can make me say, I just don't feel like living here anymore. I don't like the paint color. I don't like the way that this particular room feels in here. I just want to go someplace else. And when I've said this to other people, they just sort of look at me sideways, like, what's wrong with you?
Mm.
And so I always thought something was wrong with me, but I mean, I don't know, maybe,
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
Listen, I did too. The
I
therapist said I'm fine, so I'm gonna go to a professional.
I with respect to feeling like you need to change, I because of living in different places, when I stopped moving so much, I changed the furniture around
Hmm.
all the time to make it like a new place. And my mother told me that my grandmother used to do that. And I don't know the story behind that, but I changed the furniture and people will walk in the house and they're like, okay, so she needed a change. So yeah. And then not necessarily buying new furniture, but just changing things around to make it more comfortable for me. The fireplace in the poem is something I resonate with also because I love being in the I had a great fireplace and it just that was where I went to meditate in front of the fireplace in the winter or cooler months. So and I would find the right chair to sit in to be near the fireplace. Mm.
Mhm. Nice.
Well, as I sit here listening to you ladies, I realize that it's a perfect place for me to be because you're actually grooming me. Um, I grew up in a home that was very toxic, very toxic. But when I pass it, you know, I see where my mother worked on making it beautiful, but my stepfather was the evil entity in the home.
Mhm.
And I often look at the house and say, wow, I hope they clean their house. So it makes me think about when we move into places, how important it is to make it sacred
Mhm.
and do the spiritual exercises.
Yeah.
That said, I'm sitting here thinking I've been living where I'm living for 35 years and had to do the math. I've been here for 40 years. I love it. I love this neighborhood. But I am ready to change.
Mhm.
That has come up in a very pronounced way in my spirit numerous times, but more so now. Mainly because I think I found somewhere I'd like to be.
Mhm.
The thing that kept me here is being having had the unfortunate experience of being unstable for a while. When I got this apartment, it was like a gift out of heaven. And plus the rent was $185 a month. So that's
Wow.
one reason that I haven't left, because I don't pay $1,000 yet, after 40 years. And one reason that I love that too is because it allowed me financial space to travel.
Mhm.
But having met you, Halona, I am slowly moving toward wanting to apply my writing to a life of travel. If I don't travel as often, just know that I think that it's a wonderful gift to be able to pick up and go where you want to be and still earn money. It's the financial freedom that I
Mhm.
want. Mhm.
Yeah.
Right now, my life is tied to the community,
Mhm.
and I love that. So I'm trying to find a way to have the best of both of those worlds.
Mhm.
Mhm. But as far as home goes, I'm in the middle of changing stuff around now to organize, but also to make it a new experience and just make the house feel different.
Mhm.
So yeah, home though, for me, especially after studying Buddhism and not being a Buddhist, but studying the philosophy and the art of detachment and all of that, um, I have learned how to let go. And I've made my my self my home.
Mhm.
That way I have home wherever I go in that sense. But as far as a physical home, when I travel, I do need a place that I need to come back to. I need a base.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm no longer a nomad. I need a place.
Yeah.
And then I can go. Mhm. So
I
that's
love
my
your question about is the place spiritually cleansed?
Mhm.
Because that's something I've only paid attention to, I guess, in the last few years that I've been traveling, and I've learned about um, whether the energetic space of a place actually works for you,
Mhm.
which is so important. And I do, I have like my own, sets of rituals that I um, use,
Mhm.
when cleaning the plate, or, I pay somebody else to come in and clean it, but it's after she gets done. After she gets done, I come in and I'll use, I've been using as of late since I got into Mexico, cinnamon incense sticks are really popular here. And so to be able to bring in the sweetness of cinnamon into the house, I'll burn cinnamon incense, or I have sage and Palo Santo
Mhm.
that I keep.
And
Um,
also eggshells. I've just recently crushed eggshells. You,
mhm.
you can get it in the powder form. I actually did sort of like a aura cleansing ritual for people on Sunday, mixed lavender and eggshell powder
Oh,
in,
really?
and yeah, and misted them. misted them with it. And I also used it in my floor wash.
Mhm.
So from what I understand, from the source that I got the information from, I already know lavender has spiritual properties, but as far as the crushed eggshell is a protective
Yeah,
character.
call it cascadia or afun. You
Right.
can get it from the Botanica right up the street, Halona.
Right.
Oh.
I've had egg cleansing before, as far as the ritual of the egg in the navel.
Mm.
I've experienced that. That was beautiful. But when I learned about the egg shell, the crushed egg shell, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. I'm open to that.
I just bought a lavender plant. I don't buy plants.
Mm.
So I know I must be serious about trying to make a house a home. I got it's a little bit sad looking when I picked it up. I probably could have picked a better looking one. But I just like the way when you touch the leaves and you smell. I love it. I just love that. I'm hoping I can keep it alive for as long as possible.
But even when they are dried, that scent remains, because
Mhm.
we go to Governor's Island to harvest lavender. And last year, I got a huge bunch of lavender, so it's all through the house. And even though it's dried, when you mash the little buds, it's just as vibrant a smell
Mhm.
as before. So don't throw it out if it dies. It's still gonna deliver.
Okay. Well, I have a second poem that I wanted to read. It's actually a popular poem if you like Rumi. It's called The Guest House. I put it in the chat and I'll read it. It's called The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And then this is one of my favorite poems because it talks about, or at least the way that I interpret it, it talks about home not from its physical space, but as Miss Carolyn just talked about, but the home being within yourself. And that's one of the things that I've had to learn over the last 6 years that I've been traveling. If you're not comfortable with the thoughts in your head and the emotions and the feelings and things that come up with, and you're afraid to sit and talk with them, almost as a guest in your mind, in your home. If you can't do that, then life is always going to be quite difficult, and you'll always be following behind someone else's rules and ways of living that may or may not be conducive to the way that you're supposed to be here in this life. And so I really love particular this particular poem. I just really love I think because I feel more at home in myself, I can now feel like I can have a physical home. The physical home that I have will be a physical expression of what I feel on the inside, which I think is growth. That's big growth for me. I'm not sure if my parents have ever felt like that or had the opportunity to be able to sit and think in this sort of a way. It was just sort of, my parents were really quite young when they married and had me. My mom was about 19 years old when she had me, and I think my dad was about 20. So it was really just about, we just need a space to live, and we just need to have a place for us to be able to be and be able to pay bills so that we can raise myself. And a couple of years later, my sister came along. So there was really no space for internal growth and really thinking about what does home mean to you, or emotional growth and that sort of a thing. It was just more so a matter of paying bills and paying for, I guess, paying for your space on the planet. Which is fine, and it actually makes sense from the time that they were in, and considering how young they were when they started their own family. That totally makes sense. And so I really consider myself to being able to have time in my 40s to be able to pack up and go to another country, to be able to sort of start over and examine the thoughts in my head. That's a real privilege that a lot of people don't ever get. And so that's why I really love this particular poem, to be able to get comfortable with who I am, and to love that, who I am from the inside, and now I can sort of express that on the outside, in a country that feels good to me. I'm excited about that. So I don't know, Kathy, I see you hearted the poem.
Yeah, I think what resonated with me is that the sentence, every morning a new arrival. The emotions that come up during the morning for me are great. It's my favorite time, and I feel uh the most comfortable in the morning with newness. Um, but I also feel comfortable with being open to whatever comes my way, those emotions, some momentary awareness, unexpected visitor, um, sorrows, things that, that may come up. But then I kind of right size myself. So I feel good with myself. I think it's because I'm getting older that whatever is going on it's going to be okay. I'm 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 at home with myself. I'm at peace with whatever comes up. That's how I interpreted it. Yeah.
The poem made me think of my current living situation. The line about this being human is a guest house. I live in a senior building, and for maybe the last 13 months or so, and I noticed that, considering the fact that everyone here is 62 and up in years, there's a lot of I observe like a lot of ill health, illness, and death. And it kind of hit me one day, like, I don't think I like I don't think I like this, you know. I love the fact that I love the apartment. It's very comfortable, nice community and neighborhood, and well kept, and I can afford it, you know. But it's always that 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 over that overcast of, some illness, or the consequence of, some illness. And I you know I don't like that. It's very it's kind of slow, and you know, a lot of mobility devices, and you know, people are constantly leaving, and the ambulance visits often, and that part of it is challenging for me. So I realized that I have to try to just keep my mind cultivated, you know, keep myself up with my own practices, you know, my walking, my you know, journaling, and whatever, you know, all the things that I do, you know, my herbs, and you know, this group, and you know, going to the Y, swimming, and you know, whatever I can do. But coming back here is, it's like, wow, you know, this is it. And it really makes even the word senior, I thought about that one day. And I thought about in school when we were seniors, that meant we were on our way out. We're on our way out of here. You know, you're on your way out of this institution. So it's just like, you know, that part, that whole part of it, like you know, I really don't like, and I'm always, you know, very cordial with people, and I noticed that some of the people really seem to be mean, and I have to remind myself that there's a whole lot of experiences behind those years, behind all of our years, and who knows what, you know, well, you know, you don't know what people um, have had to deal with, especially the women, and unfortunately, especially the Black women. You know, some of us are just so bitter, and we you know, we weren't taught like how to kind of process out a lot of the stuff that we have experienced. So it's home for me is it's got to be like my human experience, and what I make it.
Mhm.
I'm very interested in co-housing. I don't know a whole lot about it yet. I've been kind of following this sister named I think her name is Elizabeth White. She has like a really nice salt and pepper bush, and she wrote a book called 55. I think it's called 55 and Faking Normal, or something like that.
I
And
know her. I know of her. I don't know her
oh,
person,
okay,
but I
yeah,
know of
she's
her.
got this co-housing kind of
Mhm.
movement going. So I don't know all about it, but I'm kind of trying to look at, you know, kind of look into it. Like it would be nice to have like a different energy, like acknowledging where we are in each stage of life and accepting it is beautiful. But let's find the beauty in that, and not just, you know, like surrender to maybe the dark side of it, you know, like we're still alive. We can still do things, you know, besides play bingo, you know, which is bingo's great. I enjoy that too, but we can do some other things like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then I will be like, I'm not the typical 70-year-old woman, you know, like I'm not it. Like if people really knew what I was into, they probably wouldn't be so, you know, wouldn't want to associate. So, you know, it's like not really, I don't really show my whole self in this home environment that I'm in. I don't, because you know, I don't think people would be able to accept it. So I have to find my home within me. And maybe in the near future I will find, you know, another physical home that I feel more comfortable and a little more happier in.
Mhm.
But for now, I just got to keep putting in my work.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like, may I comment on that?
Sure.
Sure, please.
Uh, I, I, uh, I just love to hear you say all of that out loud, because that's, as I look around and see where I could move, every time I think about moving in a senior establishment, I'm like, that's not going to work. I'll go and teach a senior class, and I find myself saying my seniors as if I'm not 74. But I understand, and I used to tell my seniors as well, I used to look at folks and say, oh my God, they're so mean, And then I realized it's the pain. They are in so much physical pain
Yes,
that
yes.
and how I realized it is when I injured myself and I was in pain every day and I had to consciously fix my face because I realized I was scowling, but it wasn't because I was feeling mean. It could make you like a viper over time if you don't control it, but it is just the pain. So that's why I focus as a herbalist on pain management for people so that they could come out of that and have a moment's reprieve. But as for yourself, like I don't really find myself hanging around people my age. If I have
Yeah.
too many
Mm-hmm.
mobility devices, I head the other way, not because I'm discriminating, but because I don't want to get myself in that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I have an injured knee and I work and work and work and work to not have surgery, to not, so everything health related that comes with this age, I try to make it, I think the opposite. I believe the plants can help me, or
Mm.
exercise can help me, or sunshine will help me, even depressive moods and stuff. A dose of sun does the trick to
Yes.
allow it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
I agree with
let you know,
everything.
I'd be hanging with you if I was there.
I wish we were close together because yeah, I'm fairly new to this area, so that's another barrier. Like I don't know where things are, and I'm slowly, finding my way around. But I don't know like a lot of people. I don't have like a history behind me in this area, so I don't. It's just like a lot. I just don't know. I just do the best I can, and I work through pain too. Like I deal with lower back pain, but I just keep moving. Acupuncture,
Yeah,
um, walking, getting in the water, whatever I can do, because I don't want to be a burden on anyone else or myself.
thank
I
you.
like to keep.
Naming
I
yourself, yeah.
really am grateful for the ability to keep moving.
And to
Just
have the faculties.
oof. Yes, ma'am.
When you lose that, forget about it.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, like when I came back from Africa for 3 months, it was like the guy across the hall didn't see him no more. He's in a nursing home. My next door neighbor died. Um, and then you know, sometimes you'll see like one week you'll see people, kind of vibrant, and then the next week they have a walker. I'm like, what's going on? Like you were just walking. And I think some of it has to do with the fact that these items are so easily accessible nowadays. Like they will give you a rollator like bubble gum,
Yes.
but they don't want to give people money to buy fresh food.
Isn't that
But you
something?
can get a cane, you can get a walker, you can get a. There's one couple in the building. They both have scooters. Like,
Mm.
and it just blows my mind. And they have their granddaughter with them a lot, and
Yeah,
the granddaughter's riding on the back of the scooter. Like, it just
yeah.
and then the husband was an amputee of one leg, and when I came back from my trip, I noticed that I didn't see him, and I was like, I certainly hope that lady's husband didn't pass away. I just saw him last week coming back from, I guess, the hospital. He's lost the other leg. I was
Oh,
like, oh my goodness. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So
I just want to share one story that I hope it'll be as poignant for you as it was for me. When I was visiting one of the elders that I used to teach, you know, because I've grown close to some, and I still visit them. And she's in a rehab center, a nursing home. Let's just say that they call it.
yeah,
She's not
yeah,
ill.
yeah. Mhm,
She had fallen, and she was
mhm,
alone so much I didn't understand. But anyway, we won't get into that. I went and I massaged her feet. I was preparing her to massage her feet.
mhm,
And she was sitting in front of the mirror in her room. She has dementia, Parkinson's related dementia. She doesn't have
mm,
shakes. I did not know you could have dementia through Parkinson's until she got it. And she said, "Who's that old woman looking at me?"
wow.
And that thing just boom, I felt my heart bump. This is a woman who used to be doing yoga uptown. She'd miss my class sometimes for hanging out with the teachers, going all over the place, you know, and just to see her. That's why I say, for all that might go wrong when you lose your mental faculties, it's just done. So just live everything in every way to the fullest, And so I looked at her, I said, "Hmm." I said, "Yeah." But she really, for a second, didn't know who this, because she looked at her with and said it with the attitude like, "Why are you staring at me?" You know?
Mhm,
Mhm. And then
yes.
drifted back into herself and she said, "I don't have my front teeth." So she came back, then she knew she was looking at her. So to see
Yeah.
the
Wow.
a person living in another world while physically in this world is
Hmm.
disturbing. It's disturbing.
Yeah.
And it's cause for gratitude for where we
Big.
are.
Yes.
Yes. Hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
That's something, yeah.
Yeah. And I've actually thought about when I get to my older stages in life, what type of a community do I want to be able to live in, particularly as a single person who doesn't have any children. Yeah, I guess I feel like I have to be more purposeful about what sort of a space I want to be in when I get to an older age, especially when you live in a foreign country.
Mhm.
Because
Yes.
it's just, I don't know. I feel like if you were married and you had children, you just sort of have a default, which may or may not be true. I don't know. You sort of have a default space, if your family holds together. If it doesn't, God
Yeah.
bless you.
Mm,
which, which is
yeah.
really that was my family's uh uh that was my family's dilemma. Particularly I would say on my mom's side when she got cancer and she got, and she was single when she died. And so trying to figure out, all right, well, where does she go? Where do we put her? We need to be able to put her in a place where she's close to family and friends, in a place that I'm referring to hospice.
Yeah.
Um, just that sort of process, and she was only 49 years old. That was really just that was difficult. And I remember her saying when she first went in there, she said, "I don't feel like I belong here. Everyone else was in their 80s and 90s. There's no one here for me to be able to talk to." And just that sort of realization for me was difficult to be able to watch. You really have to be intentional about all
Absolutely.
stages of your life. Because the life is grand at my age when I'm able to travel and move to different places. But there will be a time where, you're going to want to be around people that are comfortable to you, people that you know, and to be able to have facilities, where in services where you can feel comfortable with the people that you're around.
Hmm.
You know what's been fascinating me? Blue
Mhm.
zone, blue zones. I was actually researching blue zones for a while. I'm like, if I was around a bunch of elderly people, that's the people I would want to be around. Eat right, exercise every day, take
Mhm.
care of one another, like a
Yeah.
real community where
Yes.
they take care of your heart, not
Yes.
just your body. They take care of your
Right.
soul, not just,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm,
I agree. Halona, I would say, in terms of the future, you perhaps consider a community of a multi-age community, and
Mhm.
maybe get yourself settled in that way, so that in your coming years, people will know you. That's Miss Halona,
Mhm.
and you won't be just hopefully not in a place where it's above a certain age, and you know people are just sitting around waiting for the mail truck or Amazon to deliver their medications, and you can't have a conversation with them because you can't relate to that, because that's where I am. And we have a beautiful area to sit outside, and I like sitting out there. But 9 times out of 10, when others come around, the conversation leads to doctors and pills, and I don't have anything to say about that. So it can be a challenge. So I would tell anyone, try to get yourself settled into like a multi-age community where you feel comfortable, and there's mutual respect for all ages, which
Mhm.
is how it used to be years ago. But now, I thought that, living in this type of environment was like going to be great, and it is great, you know, as an option. But I guess it's just the way that um, people who are aging are perceived in this society. Like, we're not going to give them too much, like, why put too much money into them? It's almost like reverting back, like they're reverting us back to childhood, you know. So
Mhm.
If we allow. And the important
if we
thing,
allow.
yeah, the important thing too is to stay around young people. There are young people who want to take care of elders. They want to do things. They want to give, the news would have you believe, and sometimes the things you see in the street will have you believe that they've gone absolutely buck wild. But
Yeah.
I've met many young people who love catering to me and other elders.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And children do give you they give you their energy.
Yes.
There's an exchange. So
Mm-hmm.
not to say that you have to be engaged with them all the time, but to know how to cipher that energy and give them your wisdom in return,
Mhm.
Yes.
give them your attention is very
Mm-hmm.
important too. And I wanted to say, lucky you who don't have children and could just gallivant all over the world. Yay. Okay, just yay. Mhm. Be a
Thank you.
cheerleader for that. Because part of what keeps me where I am too is wanting to be there for my great grandchild.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Even in considering moving, because I want to
Yeah.
help his mother. I want to give his mother the help that I didn't have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do have grandchildren nearby, two grandsons. They're 7 and 8, and they're about 5 minutes away. So, I go over my son's house and visit with them for a while. But for the most part, they were like, "Hi, hug," and back out the door. So you don't get that much from them, which is what they should be doing.
right.
They're rambunctious boys, and when I say rambunctious, it's not a exaggeration at all. And but I just enjoy, them allow me in their space for a little while, And then I'm like, okay, I had enough. Let me go, going back. So yeah.
Well, I'm gonna put my numbers in chat. And anytime you want to have one of the conversations we're talking about, I'm game.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so
That's for
much.
all of you. That's for all of you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it's the top of the hour. I gotta finish getting packed up because I'm taking my bus trip
Yay.
to
Where
go
you
and get
going?
my Merida, or what is it? My temporary resident visa.
Nice.
Oh, awesome.
All right.
I'm excited.
Congrats.
Very
Awesome.
good.
I included today's journal question, which is just to describe your home, present, past, or future, using your 5 senses.
Mm,
Okay.
I like
Wow.
that.
that's nice.
So if you're creating a new home, this is a good exercise for you to sort of feel into what it is that you want to create. If you're in more of a nostalgic space and you want to remember what used to be, you can certainly use this writing exercise. Or if you want to talk about what you have now, what it is that you have now, and just sort of learn to be able to come into a space of gratitude for the type of home that you've created for yourself for right now. So thank you so much. I will see you again next Wednesday. I will include the poems in the replay in the YouTube
Okay.
description. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Everyone have a great
You
week.
too. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.